You may even get tired of winning, and you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
Salute to everyone. How are you guys doing? Welcome to the Astrolabe. It is a beautiful, beautiful Wednesday evening. It is time for a Wedneslaybe. I don't know, for Wedneslaybe, we have Satterlabe. Satterlabe seems to be the one that works the best with. You have Satterlabe, and then there's a Wedneslaybe, Frylabe, Thurslaybe, and none of those really seem to work all that well. But but Satterlabe, that it's just special for our great Pseudowave celebrations. How are you guys doing? Yeah, more winning. That's right. Enchanted Hero said admin should hire the cyberbully for 24/7 white-pilling propaganda for truesters. Yes. Wouldn't that be something? Maybe that's a maybe that's a potential goal. Maybe that's something that we're working toward. Big plans in the future. They may move slowly. Given the level of capital and talent that we have at our disposal at the moment, but big plans yet to come. You might notice that my face looks a little different. Amy said, thank you, Pill Morning Dude. 1,000 kicks. Hold on a second. I'm not getting the audio alerts, of course, because I have to reset the audio settings. That was one of the... No. Calm down. Tip goal. No. That was $10. That was $10, not $1,000. That's another thing that I have to try to fix somehow. There we go. I mean, it looks real nice when it gets all filled up like that. Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't it be great to see the bar just wrapped around multiple times? I'd love to see that. Pale Morning Dude sent 1,000 kicks and said EWBSX got me hyped today. He also sent 500 kicks a little bit ago and said that hail Trump, hail victory. So true, Patriot. I am looking forward to meeting a few of you Patriots tomorrow up in Fort Worth. This is last call. If you want to join us as we meet, we gather together around meat and alcohol and nicotine, then hit me up. Send me an email, realkingpilled at gmail.com or at kingpilled on X. Shoot me a DM. Those of you who have hit me up, I've responded to all of you, I believe, and given you the plans. We'll be meeting at a dining establishment and filling our bellies, and then Tom and his group they're going over to a cigar shop. We may or may not go with them. We may end up going over to a sports bar nearby to make sure we catch the U.S. game at 9:00. We gotta support the boys. Going out to support the boys. It's actually a meaningful game. It's mostly meaningful. Honestly, the result is important. That's kind of what's meaningful about it. But it's not in terms of like their actual standings or it's meaningless. The actual result is meaningless on paper, but it means a lot spiritually. It means a lot in terms of the meaning. I guess it means a lot in terms of the meaning. Thank you, Kamala Harris. It would be a big psychological hurdle to overcome for them to just go out, step on the throat, and put this one to bed early and sail into the round of 32. Either way, they're going to the round of 32. They're playing Bosnia and Herzegovina because they beat Qatar this afternoon. So the actual result doesn't matter in terms of who they play next, but it sure would matter a lot because it's looking like there's the possibility that they wind up getting a fairly, as far as you can say in the World Cup, a fairly easy path to pretty deep into the tournament. They don't actually hit one of the big dogs until probably at least the quarterfinals, and then even the I think like Egypt is the next most likely. If they beat Bosnia, then Egypt would be the next their next draw, and staying all on the West Coast as well, so they're not really having to travel very much at all. Then if they make it to the quarterfinals will be in either Dallas or Houston. I think Dallas. And it's looking most likely like that would be Spain, which would be very interesting because I think it was the 2014 World Cup where the United States went up against Spain as heavy underdogs, and actually knocked them off, ended like their reign of terror that had gone for many decades. So interesting. Another little instance of history perhaps rhyming. So we're gonna go catch them taking on Turkey on in the evening tomorrow evening. So hit me up. Let me know if you would like to join us, and I will give you the place to be. Cheeky says, "Who's this cheese and teethy Kingpilled?" Yeah, Mrs. Kingpilled said that shaving trimming my beard up took years off of my face, and I was like, "Oh, that's a good thing." Oh, something's about to happen. Oh, I know what this is. This is a very important something. I'm listening, waiting to see. We'll see if we'll see how well the background removal effect dissipates. I hear a little voice. He's really taking his time. Hey, what are you doing out there? Ah! Does it show up? Oh no, the hat won't show up. Oh, there it is. You can kind of see it. Yeah, there you go. You got it. All right, you got to back up and show them the whole fit here. So that's probably about as far as you're going to be able to be visible. Come this way a little bit. So Amy found on Facebook Marketplace a lady who was selling this Patriot outfit with not including the hat. They made the hat themselves, but the whole the waistcoat and the jacket and the undershirt and all of this, and selling it for, I think she said, I think it was $30.
I think it was free.
I think mommy probably had to pay some money for it, but the lady was selling it for her husband. Her husband wore it for the 200th anniversary.
Here,
50 years ago. He was 10 and he wore it. What?
Can I show them that?
No, here, I'll lift it up so you can. I don't want you to try to get it. So.
I fought the
Yeah.
Revolutionary War.
Yeah, you did, buddy. A hand-sewn Minuteman costume made in 1976.
I like when it kind of sits on my ears.
Yeah, you like your tri-corner hat? What book are you reading with mommy that made you interested in the Revolutionary War?
I didn't. Why does it say he thought Americans?
Because that's a video that I'm going to play in a little bit. He thought Americans were crazy. That's a video I'm going to play for everyone in a few minutes.
Can I see?
No, you wouldn't be able to hear it.
I wanna
What book?
see the video.
I'll send it to mommy and she can show it to you. What?
Revere.
Rush Revere?
Oops.
Yeah, you like the Rush Revere book? Rush Limbaugh's Rush Revere book. Amy's been reading it to him.
Legos up to show?
Not this time, bud. We'll make another time for you to have your Legos ready to go, and you can bring them up and show them.
Okay, guys. On a few shows after this, the next show, expect Legos being in here, okay? In a moon base.
Legos and a moon base. Mommy says to ask you about the lanterns.
Oh.
What does that mean?
There's
Come close.
one is if the redcoats are coming on land, are walking or riding horses, and two if they're going on the sea in ships.
So what did he say? What did he shout?
One if by land, two if by sea.
Yeah. You've been learning American history, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Don't let Curtis Yarvin take this away from us. Do you want to show him the astrolabe real quick? I don't know if it'll show up. They've seen it before, but I don't think that there's a special program that's removing... Oh, there we go. If I get it right in front of my face. There, they can see it. That's the Mongoloid. Thank you, sir. Could you guys hear that? That was one of the reasons I was like, no audio. Okay.
When a sharp sword to cut into your back.
Sure. Ah! Oh!
I'm killing Daddy.
You're killing me. Oh no.
Does that actually feel good?
Yeah, it actually does kind of feel good.
me to break this?
No.
I'm kidding.
You're funny. All right, bud. Daddy's going to keep doing his show now, okay? I love you.
Watch my skills. Okay.
They're not going to be able to see you all the way over there.
Tell them that I'm not going to be gone. Tell them that I'm going to stay here forever and that I'm trapped here.
They can hear everything you're saying.
Oh. Well, that's what we're pretending.
That's what we're pretending?
That I'm not able to leave.
Okay, so we'll be pretending that Eastwood is trapped down on the floor here like I have him in a cage. Is that what it is?
I'm trapped standing here.
Are you like in a kennel like one of the dogs Mommy takes care of?
I can't get out of the room and I can't even move.
Okay, we'll pretend that. Run back downstairs to Mommy now, okay?
I can't move.
Do I need to carry you? Close the door, please. Close the door.
Look at that.
I can't see you.
They are coming down.
Oh, they're coming down? All right. Well, please close the door and then take them down to Mommy. Mommy will help you with them.
I got him.
Okay, good. Kid's losing his britches now. Okay, so you guys heard the cash noise, but you didn't hear the message. I heard the message, but didn't hear the cash noise. That's very odd. All right, so one of the reasons I was later was because I was sitting here trying to troubleshoot that, and then it turned into having to troubleshoot something with the soundboard as well. So actually, that's a good thing. Let me test this right now. Can you guys hear that? Is that coming through to you? And is it coming through and not doubling? It is coming through. Okay. Okay, so that's test one. Yeah. Now once I share the screen, then I have to the audio would double if I don't mute that output, and I'll have to try to fix it up in another way. Didn't have time to do all of that tonight, but what Mongobloid said was, can't watch live tonight, have fun tomorrow, try to pre-sup Tom, LOL, might not be the right setting for it. Yeah, no, we don't need to get into all of that with Tom. We're crashing his event, so he's very gracious to say that anybody's welcome that wants to come along with me. So we'll be minding our P's and Q's. We also got $25 from somebody. Sent a tip and didn't say anything. Thank you, somebody, for the 25 smackers. Now, I think that was all that I had to get us started. So let's rock and roll here. So now I believe, let me use, can you hear this? That should be coming through, shouldn't be doubling. And if it's not, then mission accomplished. Okay, so here you go. He thought Americans were crazy. This one will be particularly relevant to a handful of you guys out there. Yeah, CCP is asshole. Patriot name on Twitter.
When you first emigrated here from Greece, what was your impression of the pickup trucks that you saw everywhere?
I say it was so many of those in the roads. I say, all these stupid guys, why they drove this big thing? Just take a car.
You've been here for 11 years. How many pickup trucks have you owned?
4.
How many?
4.
And your latest one is?
Dooley. I become one of them.
They're calling it one of the most Greek videos of all time. We love our Greeks. Speaking of niggers, rivalry with the Turks, rivalry with the Greeks. It's beautiful. This guy says, oh yeah, I want to deport all non-whites, but I'm not against having a black pastor. In principle, the black pastor.
Let's pray. Lord God Almighty, your name is Jesus. You are King of Kings. You are Lord of Lords. You're the Almighty God, the all-knowing, the all-seeing, and the ever-present God. I ask you, as your humble servant, I ask you, as one anointed with the anointing of David and with the power and the spirit of the Holy Ghost.
He's powering up.
Please, Lord, quickly eviscerate every black politician.
So true.
Those that are even lying in the hospital on their sick bed dying.
Yes!
Those that are dying of a terminal cancer, such as what Al Sharpton, perhaps starting with Al Sharpton first. Please Auschwitz them. Almighty God, hear my cry, hear my plea. Dachau, Auschwitz, every
He's
black
cooking.
politician. My only regret is that I can't include Barack Hussein, the long-legged Mac Daddy, Obama, and that cry to have them genocide, because Obama's not black, and neither is Camelback, ain't Black Harris. But Lord, set us free. Lord, rain down fire and brimstone as you did on that fateful night there in Sodom and Gomorrah. Or if need be, the way you caused the flood to flood during the days of Noah. Please relieve us of all, every, and any black politician, past and present. Please remove them, all of them,
I can't interrupt
from the
it.
face of the earth and from their
The
plague upon humanity. I'm James David Manning. I pray this Auschwitz Dachau genocide prayer, this Sodom and Gomorrah, this Noah's flood prayer upon all black politicians. And in the name of Jesus, do I make this prayer. Hallelujah and amen.
Byron Donald is out there like, what does niggas say fuck me for? Straight Buster says, I know Jason could do a mean impression of this guy. No kidding. Jason, are you out there? Mr. Miranchuk, are you here for this? I don't see him in the chat. Mr. Miranchuk, someone get it to him. Someone who knows how to contact him. Get this to him. We need the Pastor Manning impression from Jason Miranchuk. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, this video is called Tennessee Girl and Kentucky Boy Showing the World What Real Country Music Sounds Like. I'm going to play this video, and I want to see if anybody else picks up on the thing that I picked up on that's rather odd about the video.
All day long I can hear people talking out loud.
Look at that old boy.
Like when you hold me near, drown out the crowd.
Old Mr. Webster could never define
What's being said between your heart and mine?
the smile on your face lets me know that you need me.
There's a truth in your eyes saying you'll never leave me.
The touch of your hand says you'll catch me if ever I fall.
Now you say it best when you say nothing at all.
Now, it doesn't look like anybody picked up on what I did. Now, maybe it is AI. I don't know. That would be an interesting thing to consider. After you consider, is that not Alison Krauss and Keith Whitley? Is that not literally their voices? It sounds like the two people most famous for singing the song. Like Alison Krauss has a really distinct sound, and so does Keith Whitley. And she has Alison Krauss's voice, and he has Keith Whitley's voice. But it doesn't look to me like they're lip syncing. I watched this multiple times looking really close, trying to see if they're lip syncing, and they really didn't look like it to me. And I went and looked in the replies, didn't find anybody talking about it. I didn't take the time to go actually look on Instagram or TikTok because I hate wading into those apps. But yeah, it's definitely Alison Krauss. Yeah, it's 100% Alison Krauss. And then it's very, very reminiscent of Keith Whitley. I went and listened to both of their renditions of the song. When I heard it, I was like, this sounds like every version of this song that I've ever heard. I've even heard it sung as a duet. And so then I went and listened to both of them back to back, and I was like, this sounds like they're it doesn't look dubbed, and there's some differences. So I don't think it's a direct recording. It'll be interesting to see if YouTube flags that and like copyright claims it or something like that, and how they identify it. Sometimes when they flag something, it'll just be because of the lyrics. So the song could be a totally different arrangement. It could be, I could play a song of Mr. Sue singing Oasis or something, and it would flag it because of the lyrics from the song, regardless of how it was arranged or performed. So I'll be curious to see if it flags that and what sort of tag it gives it. If it identifies it as another audio clip, or if it identifies it as Alison Krauss's version and Keith Whitley's version spliced together. I'm curious to see. The other thing, Colin Rush, the other thing would be that they're just able to mimic the voice. In which case, this would be incredible. Being able to, like, doing this, singing this song and perfectly mimicking both voices of the people who did it and doing it as a duet. Be very, very... That would be pretty cool. I think that would be a cool takeaway from this. And then obviously having her look like this on the thumbnail of it. You notice I kept most of her body out of it. The woman needs to get dressed. But having this as the thumbnail and then the contrast of her with him, this is very precisely tuned, designed for virality content. It hits all of those little things that are going to hook people. You get the titties on the thumbnail, not just the titties, but the leg too. She's got a sleeve, so you know she's all done up pretty, but she's also kind of like got an edge to her. She's kind of a bad girl. And then she's got the voice of an angel. And then there's this guy there with her, just looking like a fucking ostrich egg. An ostrich egg on top of an ostrich egg. And yet that voice comes out of him. So, okay, great. Caradwin says definitely not Keith with. I went and listened to Keith. I put both videos up next to each other of Keith Whitley singing this song and him doing it. I don't want to do that now because that'll absolutely get flagged. But I put them back to back, and it's very difficult to tell the difference. Anyways, okay, so big news on the racism front. EthnoGuessr has a private beta it's on Duel. You guess the person's ethnicity in a PvP battle. Whoever has the best guesses wins all the money. One of the first few games in the Duel arena. We have finally discovered a way. I say we as the royal we. We have finally discovered a way to monetize racism. Racism and competitive gaming. And look, this freaking tweet's got 1.2 million views. There's a lot of people who play EthnoGuessr, and figuring out a way to make it competitive and monetize it is just going to. Racism is on the rise, boys. We're ahead of the curve. Colin Russ says we're getting paid for racism and you're blackpilling. You're brown and pinpoint the location where they live. Oh, man. Oh, that's so good. Andrew Starr says, is YouTube not connected to this chat? She's Hannah Marie Kelly. Let's see here. So these two did a rendition of Randy Travis, I'm Gonna Love You Forever, dressed exactly like this about a year ago. I don't know if they also recorded this, but she's a very talented singer. Okay, so she's real, yeah. I was leaning toward them just doing really good impressions of the originals. I hadn't even considered the idea of it being AI. And if it was like an AI thing, but then you're saying she's been around for a while, she's not AI. So I think it was just a really good impression. But yeah, monetized, gamified racism. Donald Trump's America. And speaking of maps, look at this. Fresh from the ADL. This map is awesome. It truly gives me hope knowing there's fellow anti-Semites that live near me. Thanks for sharing this, ADL. You could go to the ADL heat map, which tracks reported incidents of hate, extremism, anti-Semitism, and terrorism across the United States. Type in your city, filter by year or time period, switch to the list view, and see what's been reported near you. We've got competitive gamified racism and find your local anti-Semite maps. They're just like helping us network now. Thank you, ADL. I went and looked, and there was an anti-Semitic incident. Not super far from where we live. Not going to completely dox, but friend map, yeah. The tips link is what it always is, Andrew Starr. It's tips.kingpill.com. It's pinned in the chat. It's pinned in both chats. You too can now find your local anti-Semite. Israeli psychic Yuri Geller told Channel 14 that Iran is using a low-frequency electromagnetic weapon to brainwash and influence President Trump into accepting the MOU. So, if we operate from the principle that they always accuse you of doing the things that they're trying to do, then does this mean that Israel has deployed the Goy beam against Donald Trump and it's not working? And they're getting mad. My president is too powerful for the Goy beam. There's nothing that they could do about it. All they could do is meekly protest that it's actually Iran who's trying to Goy beam him. Who, us? No, we would never Goy beam.
Shut up, Goyim.
Andrew Starr says, I thought you switched to Ko-fi or whatever. It keeps taking me to the Kick homepage. Why the fuck does that happen? No idea what would cause that. But I can't do anything about it. You can just go to a browser and type tips.kingpill.com. If you just do that, it'll take you to the right place. It should. And if you're going to your browser and somehow you might have like some cookies or something that you would have to clear, but otherwise, I mean, I guess you could go to co-fi.com and search for the Astrolabe on it. That'd be another thing, or Kingpilled be another way that you could find it. But yeah, tips.kingpill.com. So I thought this is just great. Mystery Grove is getting very upset, very frustrated with the so-called retard right. He wrote a piece this last week on talking about J.D. Vance going on Megyn Kelly and basically saying that he thinks that J.D. Vance shouldn't be going and entertaining these people and treating them like they're good faith actors. I understand the case he's making. Generally speaking, I think one of the most frustrating things about some of these retard right people is that I do think that they are good faith actors. I just think they're retarded. And so, like, I understand the case for why they're not. And there are exceptions. There are definitely retard right people who are definitely not operating in good faith. But by and large, I think they're really more either just ignorant and ignorant of what they're ignorant about, or they're hopelessly ideologically captured. They've committed themselves to some sort of priors that they genuinely, sincerely believe in, and they're like, everyone telling me that I'm retarded is actually the persecution that proves to me that I'm on the right path, because you have all these quotes and quips about how like you have to travel the narrow road and suffering makes you stronger and you know, like, so you have a bunch of people who, when you say, hey, you're being retarded, they go, I'm being persecuted. This is confirmation that I'm on the right path. Oh, thank goodness. Please persecute me more. Prove to me that I'm on the right path. And so they get this really melodramatic sort of like persecution complex. And it's like, no, bro, you're just being retarded. How else do we tell you that you're being retarded without saying, hey, you're being retarded? We're not persecuting you. We're just telling you that this is retarded. You shouldn't act that way. If you're acting retarded, that's probably a good indicator that you're not on the right path. So I understand, I appreciate Mr. Grove's stance on that, his article that he wrote. I think it's a good read. But he basically says like it's time to stop like pussyfooting around with these people, like draw some hard lines. And perhaps Tucker reads Mystery Grove and he's like, all right, well, I will draw the hard line. But there's this clip here from Theo Von, and Theo Von is someone who you could not possibly persuade me that Theo Von is a bad faith actor. Theo Von is a clever toddler. He has his particular talent, his particular skill. He's very clever in a particular way, and he's also the most like shallow. And I say shallow affirmatively, like affirmingly. Like there's no depth to him. What you see is what you get. He's just a dude. He just wears his heart on his sleeve. And that's part of what's so funny about him is he just says whatever comes to his mind. And his mind is uniquely capable of putting together just absurd pairings of words and concepts. So you want him to just be sort of unfiltered and just kind of say whatever's on his heart. And so he has a gigantic heart, and I don't want to say he has a small brain, but he has let's say a very finely tuned brain. His brain is finely tuned for a particular type of processing and output. Golden Retriever American. Yeah, he's totally Golden Retriever American. 100%. Completely Golden Retriever American. That's how he should be treated. So he's on this podcast, and on his podcast, and he's talking about data centers. Mr. Grove says, it's time for leaders to stop responding to this stuff with, well, I understand why he feels this way. Lots of people think like this, and start saying, this is an unstable, unmarried, childless 47-year-old drug addict repeating memes he doesn't understand.
We don't want any data, bro. Nobody wants a data center, dude. Nobody wants it. And the people that want them, to me, bro, they seem kind of evil. It's like, what's going to happen? You fall down and you get a bunch of loose data flies out of the factory or something now, and your kid's got, he's got 5 episodes of Dutton Ranch or whatever stuck in his neck or something. It's gotten crazy. We don't want it. Nobody wants the shit. And so here's what I think.
Here's the thing, like just the way he's describing that, like the idea of like a data center exploding and like data being like a physical thing that flies around, and like that framing is funny. So part of what he's doing here is just kind of like a stand-up, and he's just talking about the things that are going on in his head because of the people who are around him that he listens to. He's just kind of like he's a mirror of whatever he's hearing around him. And so everything that he's heard is about how terrible and awful data centers are, and he hears the most prominent advocates or voices or faces of AI in the country are genuinely disturbing, creepy, weird people. And so data centers is easy to turn into a buzzword. This is actually an explicit funded foreign propaganda campaign. Funded by foreign interests. Directed toward the purpose of trying to get the United States to kneecap itself. All the receipts have already been out there, and it should stand to reason. There's a lot of basically every interest that isn't American would have a compelling interest in seeing America not reach its full potential. And data centers are like the least boogeyman thing ever. They're literally like giant warehouses full of servers. It's where the internet lives. But the only people who have made themselves the face of AI are psychotic, like Bond movie villain caricatures And then there's no countering voice. There's no one out there with some sort of compelling political, cultural weight who's making the case for data centers. So if he was hearing other people around him, you're not going to go to Theo Von for quality political analysis. That's not who's going to provide it. And anybody treating him that way should be chastised for it. He's entertainment. He's an entertainer. You shouldn't be listening to Theo Von's opinions on politics any more than you would listen to Zendaya's opinions on politics. All I can think of is Tom Holland's girlfriend. Theo Von is basically Zendaya, but like actually talented and compelling and entertaining. Nobody wants data centers, but also like if you said, okay, here's all the things that data centers will provide you. Here's all the things that you have because of data centers, and here's what not having data centers will cost you. Every single person in the world would vote for data centers. There's not a single person. Homeless Nomad says nobody wants the data center until the AI-driven, infinitely readapting, recombinant computer virus wipes out all their bank accounts. Right. Yeah. Yeah. The big brain has entered the chat. Yeah, Andrew Starr, your tip did come through here, and I had to refresh something. Let's try this again.
Sorry for the interruption. Weird glitch. 2 things. Hannah Marie is absolutely smoking hot, and I love Argentina.
So true and so true. Thank you, Andrew Starr. Appreciate you, man. So that was on the screen share, so I heard both parts of it. I assume that you guys heard both parts of it. Yeah, working. So on the screen share, it totally works. I've just got to figure out how to make it work on the not screen share part. Okay, let's finish this video.
I really believe this. I think I really believe it. I don't know, but I believed it yesterday.
Living Dead says he's like the dog that is too smart for its own good, that gets separation anxiety and that destroys half of your house while you're at work. Yeah, right. Yeah, the dog like doesn't have the sense of the passage of time. So as soon as you walk out the door, he's just like, oh shit, he's never coming back. He's been gone forever. I don't even remember what he looks like. I'm forgetting him already. It just totally spazzes out, tears the apartment apart. And you walk back in 5 minutes later, and you're like, bro, what the fuck? And he's like, oh my God, I missed you so much. Theo Von is the human version of that. And that dog, when that dog does that, you want to choke the life out of it. But it's sitting there so happy to see you that you're like, fuck, I guess I've got to figure out a way to restrain you.
I believe that some people know how to live forever. They've cracked the code. And so suddenly, they have to put the rest of us, they have to lock us down. They have to. Because if everybody finds out about it, then everybody's going to be able to do it, right?
Logan says Theo's career wouldn't exist without data centers. Very good point. Yes. Theo's career would not exist without data centers. His livelihood depends upon the existence and continued proliferation of data centers. But again, like you're watching a stand-up comedian. And it needs to be clear that this is stand-up comedy. You need to understand it and filter it through the lens that you would stand-up comedy. But stand-up comedy and podcasts have made it so the line between stand-up comedy and the political campaigning have gotten blurred together.
There's got to be some people have to separate themselves. And I think this is how they're doing it. They're creating these data centers. It's all I think going to be, I believe, this is my theory, that it's all going to be locked in with these flock cameras or some company like this, Palantir. One of these companies is going to be owning all of this information. They're going to put it all in. It's all going to be, we're all going to be locked down. Everybody, you're not going to be able to live or do anything that feels human, right? There's going to become this kind of score, this sort of like social and even emotional sort of credit score. And then AI is going to become, it won't ever really, but it's going to try to become like our new God, right? Because
it's completely vapid. And like a feature of a guy like Theo Von is that you could get a guy on his show who could make the case for why this is completely absurd. But then that person gets called like a shill. Then it's like, oh, how are you going to take this person seriously? There's this weird phobia that Americans have around technology where they desperately grasp at every new bit of technology that they can get their hands on, and yet everyone's like ashamed of it. And someone who goes out and is a passionate advocate for technology is treated like they've got some sort of something up their sleeve, some kind of an agenda. Like obviously, yeah, technology has dangers, but like everything has dangers. It's obvious saying like, oh, well, there's things that could be dangerous about it. Fucking obviously. Look, here's a chainsaw. It helps you cut a tree down really fast. What happens if you jam it into your leg? Yeah, that's bad. You shouldn't do that. So anyways, here's the chainsaw. Here's how it works. But what if I like hammer it into my arm? You shouldn't do that, bro. Yeah, we agree. We agree that you should not do the things that will harm you with the piece of technology. Now, let's talk about what to do. Sitting there like, on your ankle with it.
right, because I think people go to God for their feelings, for help, for hope, right? They lay their faults at the feet of Jesus for hope, right? And you're going to have to like appease somehow. You're going to have to do well enough for the data center to grant you whatever you then need, right?
It's like, this makes a really compelling sci-fi novel, in theory at least. I mean, there's like variations of this, so it might be a little derivative, but like it makes a compelling sort of sci-fi description of some sort of dystopian alternate universe. And like, yeah, if you have really bad people in positions of power who have designs upon dominating and controlling the whole population and turning everyone into cattle.
Shut up, Goyim.
Then, like, yeah, that would be a bad thing. But maybe we start with the upstream conversation, which is about ensuring that that's not the case. So I'm sympathetic to Mystery Grove's position here. That, yeah, I understand. It's time for leaders to stop responding to the stuff with, well, I understand why he feels that way. Lots of people think like this, and start saying this is an unstable. So like, someone needs to tell Theo Von stay in his lane. But you have to do that in a way that's not like, in a way that will be received. Because if you just be like, dude, you're a fucking comedian. Shut up and tell jokes. That's not going to land well. I mean, it's like it would be cruel and insulting, but I'm not saying don't do it because it would be cruel and insulting. I'm saying don't do it because it's not going to be effective. I think the way that with someone like Theo Von in particular, the only way to combat this is to go talk to them. The dude has a podcast. There's someone who needs to take the responsibility for going to Theo Von and being like, there's a bunch of hysterical lunatics who are funded by foreign interests who want you to think and feel this way. There needs to be people who are willing to go out and boldly make the positive case for, in this case, data centers, but generally speaking, making a positive case for anything going forward. Not that thing. Not just less Israel. Not just less, even not even just like less Democrats. Like, yes, less Democrats, but that's secondary to the give us the positive thing. Put forth the positive thing. Make the positive thing happen. Don't just take away. What are you doing to add to? There's so many glorious things that are happening right now. It's a truly exultant time for so many people. And then there's people who have been seduced into this doom cult where they're like freaked out of their own shadow, assuming that there's whatever their chosen villain is hiding around the corner, waiting to jump out at them and get them. And there's some sort of cosmic plan bent around their personal destruction. And they want to demand other people go do these things. Someone fix the problem. And sure, that's fine, great. There needs to be people who say, hey, there's a problem. Someone go fix it. But where are the people to actually fix the problems? Jim over on YouTube says, AI helped me do $5,000 worth of landscaping work I wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. Many such cases. Many such cases. Where are the nonstop champions of these sorts of stories? Anybody who goes out and starts talking affirmatively or positively about the benefits of AI just get inundated with the gayest midwit responses. Oh, it makes mistakes. Oh, it's keeping track of your data. They're going to track you. They're going to give you propaganda. They're going to deceive you. Bro, look around. That world already exists. The thing that the era of Donald Trump should teach you is you can just do things and winners win. And the way you win is by winning. The way you get things is by adding things. Sure, some things need to be taken away. But for some of the biggest things, in order for them to be taken away, there has to be something that is added to the pile. Obviously, the whole Tucker Carlson situation is present on my mind talking about this. And this is funny, actually, the first thing that I saw telling me about Tucker's big announcement, because I haven't been that plugged in. I've been loving just tracking the World Cup and watching all the news and stuff around that, all the stories of the different fans and the think pieces about the athletes and the storylines with the different nations and everything. That's been just delightful. So enjoyable to just sit in and take in this big national event that's happening. Can see why the big city fairs were such a spectacle. And then my feeds are just inundated with all these crazy new either stuff that the Trump administration is doing, just hacking away at the artifices of the regime, or new business developments, technological inventions, innovations, massive new infrastructure plans all over the place. There's just so many good things going on all the time. And then you get the characterization of things that Tucker Carlson brings forth.
Oh, how the turntables turn. There was a time when Tucker had just been fired from Fox News and Donald Trump was...
Benny just absolutely blows the quote right out not the first thing he's blown. I didn't say that. Absolutely blows the quote right out the gate. How the turntables.
Skipping a debate on Fox News, and they both turned to each other and delivered one of the most watched interviews in the history of the internet with 270 million views. Tucker and Trump together.
Debate night, but we're not in Milwaukee.
Look at that look that Trump gives
Trump
him.
Together.
Debate night, but we're not in Milwaukee.
For that epic intro.
Mr. President, thanks for joining us.
This is why we can't have nice things. It makes me sad because now they both turned on each other, and that's too bad. And I wish the coalition could stay together because Tucker looks great in a giant foam MAGA hat. He looks like he's having the time of his damn life here with Trump. Soon after President Trump getting sworn into office in Elon Musk. What a timeline. Doesn't seem real. Here's Tucker in the Oval Office wearing a gigantic foam MAGA hat, comically sized. My goodness. Here's Tucker and Trump howling with laughter. And Tucker Carlson doing that expression that, well, can't be trained, right? And then, well, it all went away.
Enchanted Hero said people who fear AI are not human enough. Jonathan Pajot has had a few good discussions on this topic. Very, very good point. Yes, yes. All of the people who fear AI, you can tell in their fears of AI, they don't understand what a human being actually is, or what consciousness is, or what agency is. Because their fears of AI are functional impossibilities. The idea that AI is this thing that's going to attain consciousness and begin developing agency and start acting in as like a conscious evil agent, it's literally not even possible. So you can tell they actually have a broken understanding of humanity, because they're projecting traits that are distinctly that are essentially human onto inanimate objects. It's really like a weird kind of it's a bizarre anti-human cult, the AI doomerism.
Especially after the Iran war popped off, Tucker Carlson started getting spied on by the CIA when you discover the CIA has been reading your text in order to frame you for a crime. I don't know. Things got toxic quickly. I don't even know what's true and what's not. President Trump has obviously attacked Tucker Carlson on Truth Social and also in the press. Tucker has lost his way. I knew that a long time ago. MAGA is about saving our country. MAGA is about making our country great again. Tucker's none of those things. Tucker's not smart enough to understand that. This is like the
adding on Tucker's not smart enough to understand that is kind of like the it's a what would you call the like the inverse of a backhanded compliment, where it's actually, I guess maybe it is kind of a backhanded compliment in a certain sense, that it's like, well, it's not like he's malicious, he's just retarded.
The classic back and forth with not just Tucker, but of course MTG saying she's leaving the Republican Party. I don't want to be part of the right anymore, says Dog the Bounty Hunter. There's a new lane for him.
See, like, this is part of the reason why I still will tune in occasionally when I see what Benny Johnson is talking about.
Made up of people from the right and the left, fed up with both parties, says MTG, who refuses to respond to my question, is she forming a new party with Ilhan Omar? Because Ilhan Omar says that we have a responsibility to accept MTG into the new left. And you know that's how it always works, right? The left gets all the power and we get nothing. That is how it always works. Hunter Biden, by the way, repeating the exact same talking points. Isn't that unique? New York. So when you're on the same side as...
So Hunter Biden, Ilhan Omar, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tucker Carlson. Thank you, Emperor Atreides.
Ilhan Omar and Hunter Biden, in your talking points, you have some real problems. I still can't believe this is real. Ilhan Omar saying we need to embrace MTG with open arms. We have a responsibility to do that. Okay. Kind of like how MTG embraced Code Pink terrorists in her office. Those ladies are now under indictment by the DOJ, I think. For
so true,
Cuba,
BJ.
Connecting with a terror state. Anyway, is there something else happening here? I don't know, because Tucker Carlson just made a massive announcement, sort of aligned with MTG, that he's leaving the Republican Party as well. And at that exact same time, Tucker Carlson's probability here spiking for whether he could potentially be the Republican nominee. Well,
spiking up to 6.6%. I've got I had to go digging a little bit to find this clip, but I've got this this clip up here. I'm going to talk about in just a minute, of Tucker Carlson on the Sean Ryan show. I think it was in November, but it was after Charlie Kirk died, and after Charlie Kirk was murdered by a leftist. And there's something interesting that Tucker said then that I kind of chalked away. And there's another thing I couldn't find an exact instance of the other thing I was thinking of, but we'll come to that here in just a minute, and we speculate about Tucker Carlson's motivations.
Well, that's interesting. Tucker Carlson leaves the Republican Party. I'm out, says Tucker. He's done with the GOP. And Tucker is, well, got 40 years of broadcast experience. 30 years of broadcast experience. Worked for every network. is able to summarize his thoughts and to communicate them and to make his own argument. And so here, ladies and gentlemen, is Tucker Carlson's argument as to why he's leaving the Republican Party.
I would not support the Republican Party. There's no chance I would support the Republican Party. I'm not going to support the Democratic Party. I don't know what I'm going to do. But at this point, how could I or any American voter support a political party that's not loyal to the United States, that puts the interests of a foreign country above those of its own citizens? That's it's not possible to vote for people like that, and I'm not going to. And I think I've voted Republican my entire life. I worked at Fox News, CNN, MSNBC. I've been a consistent defender for 35 years of the Republican Party. I mean, very consistent defender. But there's no defending this because it's immoral, and it's exactly the opposite of what a political party in a democracy is charged with doing, which is representing its own voters, its own citizens, its own nation. And they're not doing that. So no, I'm out. And if I'm out.
So, yeah, he was a registered Democrat in D.C. Because he basically wanted to be able to vote in the local primaries. Yeah, Slitty Milk, that's exactly where the thoughts I was putting together here. Weird, because it's more right-wing than any previous Republican Party. So, obviously there's major issues with the Republican Party. Anybody who's even like a passive follower of Republican politics is aware that there are broadly two very distinct factions within the Republican Party. It really breaks down to those who are earnestly, sincerely supportive of Trump and those who are not. And of those who are not, there are some subsets where there are those who are not and they are just openly, vocally obstinate. And then there are those who are not and they try to pretend and play ball, but they're actually dragging their feet and obstructing and sandbagging. But very clearly, something has changed in the Republican Party that has now led Tucker Carlson to make a declaration that he is out. Doesn't support him anymore. Beyond that, it's treasonous. This is a party that does not support is not directed toward taking care of its people. But he's not going to go for the Democrats. The Democrats, too, are obviously insane. So what's the only alternative? The only alternative is a third party. Now, Tucker, being a student of history and a long-time mainstay within DC, he very clearly knows that third parties are not obstructionist. That's the best thing that they could possibly be. Third parties don't win anything. The only thing that a third party can do is take from one of the others or get someone who has enough clout that one of the others is forced to basically buy him out like RFK. So Tucker's smart enough to know this much. What I've said so far. Tucker is obviously smart enough to sort of game these things out. So I think it's pretty easy to conclude that Tucker's goal here is that he is setting up whether a run run as a third party candidate or collaborating with some others to form a third party and pick another person as their representative, as their candidate. If in either case, then they're talking about putting forth a candidate, obviously for a presidential election. There's Tucker's not going to be doing all of this to go start some party that's going to start trying to get city council seats or something. They're talking about a presidential candidate, a third presidential candidate, somebody else to run in 2028. Now, he doesn't make a distinction. He doesn't identify the obvious distinction between Trump and the rest of the Republican Party. So he's wanting to create a third party that is Thank you, Andrew Stars. This can't watch on Kick, bro. It's just too glitchy. Is anyone to show the chat on screen so I'm not missing out and can converse? Maybe. I got to figure out a way to get the chat on screen so it doesn't look shitty and messy, and I've got to figure the tip thing out and the audio things and stuff. So I would like to figure out a way to have the chat on screen. But yeah, I'm just hopefully Kick improves. Thank you for the super chat, bro. So I'm kind of reasoning through this, and it seems pretty clear if Tucker is planning on running a third-party candidate. So we can include and we can deduce that. Okay, so Tucker is making the move toward a third-party candidate for president in 2028. Well, what is the purpose of running that third-party candidate? Obviously, it's not. So it's not because you're actually going to win. Tucker would know that. He would know that you're not going to actually win. You're running as a spoiler. So who are you running as a spoiler for? That's my question. Tucker seems to be clearly angling toward either being or supporting a third-party spoiler candidate for president in 2028. What is the purpose of that spoiler candidate? Who is that spoiler candidate spoiling? He's obviously very close with J.D. Vance. Has been for a long time. And now, if Tucker begins publicly saying, JD, like, you need to distance yourself from the administration, like, JD, you can no longer be associated with them, something along those lines, then that'll change something. But for the time being, at least, he is oppositional to the Republican Party, including Trump. He is running as a disaffected Republican, or he is supporting someone who is a disaffected Republican, running against Trump. Saying the Republican Party has betrayed me. And here's my alternative for all the other Republicans who feel like the Republican Party has betrayed me. As I reason through this, I cannot get away from the suspicion that this is setting up as a big giant kayfabe. And you can say I'm coping all you want. But if Tucker is running, if we deduce this down to we'll just say it's him. Maybe it's him, maybe it's Joe Kent, maybe it's whomever, Thomas Massey, Marjorie Taylor Greene, whatever. Pick up whatever person they have. We'll just say it's him for the sake of conversation. So Tucker is going to run as a spoiler candidate in 2028. Maybe he's running as the LP candidate. Maybe it's the America Party, as Aspiring Midwit said there. Like Elon split with Trump, didn't go over, and then Elon started the party and then abandoned it. So actually this is Tucker and Elon behind the scenes, and they're going to create this new party. Well, what's that new party going to do? It's going to present a spoiler candidate. Well, in real tangible terms, who is that candidate going to spoil things for? If that third candidate is effectively running as an anti-Trump candidate, that third candidate is going to spoil the other anti-Trump candidate. Whether this is intended or not, that's the effect that it would have. So if I can maintain the different steps in that logic there, that Tucker is signaling effectively that he's going to run a third-party anti-Trump candidate in 2028, an alternative to the Republicans, then whose voters is he targeting? Whether he intends it or not, and here's where it's like the question to me is whether he knows that this is what he's doing, or if he doesn't realize this is what he's doing. On one hand, he is retarded. On the other hand, he is a sociopathic S-tier actor. if he's trying to run a third-party candidate, he is more than aware that the best he's going to do is spoil it for someone. And obviously, he's not gonna spoil it for, like, I don't think Tucker is so far gone that he would be trying to spoil it for Democrats, like trying to get a Democrat president. He's not that off the rocker. But what he also could potentially be is insurance against Marco Rubio candidacy, or setting up effectively the infrastructure in case something happens to both Trump and Vance. Now, a lot of these are kind of, they're stretches, but they're also not completely a stretch. That's why I can't just write them off completely. I mean, if fucking Charlie Kirk was assassinated, there's been multiple assassination attempts against Trump. Vance is like the heir apparent, but there's a knife fight in the GOP over, because the neocons absolutely will not tolerate Vance. Then there has to be some kind of an insurance policy. And Tucker is very close personally with Vance and with Don Jr. Now, it's possible those have been just a complete, like, those relationships have detonated and they've just fallen out. It'd be kind of awkward because they've got a lot of business interests in common. But possibly they've just completely blown up and it's just been behind the scenes, but you haven't seen it publicly. But 1789 Capital is a fund that Don Jr. is a part of, that either Tucker is a part of or his direct business partner who he started Tucker Carlson Network and the Daily Caller with, Omid Malik, is a part of 1789 Capital. So those relationships are very, very awkward right now. And I'm willing to accept that. I'm willing to say that's what's happening. But then you have to start, like, thinking about the implications of there's like some sort of a fight going on over like 1789 Capital and its assets and Don Jr. with Tucker, and then there's going to be like a weird rift between Don Jr. and Vance and Tucker, and like there would be some very interesting palace intrigue fallout from that would become pretty relevant in 2028. These are the thoughts that I've thought, and I'll show you this clip in a minute from Tucker talking to Sean Ryan that sort of adds to it. Let's finish this one first.
Out than I think a lot of other people are at.
So what did you think about that? I think it's sad. And the reason why I think it's sad is because there is a political reality in this country. You can see here Tucker Carlson at 7% polling for the presidency. There's a political reality in this country. I didn't make the rules, but it is a two-party country and a two-party system. And it's run by an enormous amount of money and interests to keep it that way. And I'm not one to admit defeat, but I am one to admit political realities. And the political realities is that we have one team or the other. And every time that you are fighting again.
Carradwin said, how about Trump is doing what Hillary did in 2015, trying to set up an opponent that has no hope of winning? That would go toward one of the possible, like, if you accept the kayfabe thesis and then you're looking for avenues going with that thesis, then that would be one of them. That this whole thing is, I mean, Trump was going and regularly meeting personally with Trump, Tucker was going and regularly meeting personally with Trump at the White House multiple times over and over again in between Venezuela and Iran. And so, one way you tell this story is Tucker was there desperately pleading with Trump, and Trump kept seeing him, and Tucker kept desperately pleading with him, and Trump finally told him to fuck off, and Trump or Tucker was like, all right, Trump, you're a lost cause. That's one way of explaining it. The other way of explaining it is they were essentially setting up what was to be a big fallout that's going to happen between them.
Against the Republican Party, you're fighting for the left. And unfortunately, in politics, if you wish to actually make a change or you wish to accomplish something, you must choose the lesser of two evils, because our political systems are created by men, and men are fallible and often evil and are flawed horribly.
Fallible. Okay, enough of BJ here. Here was another clip is relevant. Tucker recently talking to a theologian named J.D. Hall.
And their Muslim rulers didn't do that during the Ottoman period.
Okay, so the answer is no. The Muslim rulers didn't tax churches during the Ottoman period. They were very kind to Christians. As a matter of fact, they took care of our holy sites. They had rebuilt, Islamic authorities rebuilt the Church of the Sepulchre 3 different times over the centuries. They had a law protecting Christian pilgrims on their journey. Like nobody messed with the pilgrims.
The Ottoman Turks, the Muslim rulers of the Holy Land, rebuilt the Church of the Holy Sepulchre 3 times?
3 times, yeah. Either completely rebuilt it or a major renovation. One time it caught on fire and they redid the roof. But if you've seen the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, you can imagine what it took to redo that.
No, it's in their Muslim.
Tucker, I would love for somebody. You need to take a vacation. You need to make a pilgrimage. You need to go stand in front of a historic monument and say a prayer and contemplate it. That monument is the Hagia Sophia. What is that? Remind me what happened with that. Now there is something to be said here for that, like there is a truth that that Christians have coexisted in Muslim nations, under Muslim rule peacefully. That's true. That has happened. There's examples of Christians coexisting peacefully with like every other ethnicity or religion or a subset of humanity. That absolutely happens. But you're really laying it on thick here. You are leaning as hard as you possibly can into the idea that you're being paid by Arab interests to promote Arab interests in the United States, particularly vis-a-vis Israel. You are making it as obvious as possible, waving the biggest sign imaginable, saying, I am a paid foreign agent, advocating for Muslim infiltration of the West. Not very subtle. So we'll watch a little bit of this on the beginning of this one between Tucker Carlson and Sean Ryan, where Tucker describes something rather interesting that happened in his personal life after Charlie Kirk's assassination. And think what you will of Tucker, like where he's gone or how much he's tuned out or whatever. There's zero question whatsoever that Charlie Kirk's assassination would have a deep personal impact on him. Obviously, clearly. And on his loved ones and those around him.
Tucker Carlson.
I remember when I used to hear that intro and I was like, oh yeah, I'm excited to listen to the thing we're about to listen to. And now it's just like,
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me. This place is so unbelievable. It is. You told me about it, but it's way cooler even than you described. So I love this.
Thank you.
I like a man who builds his own world because it reflects your value. It reflects what you care about.
Thank you. We put a lot of heart and soul into this.
It's very obvious.
Thank you.
And I think it's great. I like building things. I like people who build things. And I think it's very important to live and work in an environment that is beautiful, or at least something that you consider beautiful. I think it's really important. Beauty is totally underrated as an elevator of spirit, as a path to clarity. The whole modern world is so ugly, and it's ugly on purpose. You can't think clearly about anything. And you come to a place like this and you're like, oh, this is a man who really thinks about things. So
thank you, man.
when I watched this last November, how quickly things change. When I watched this last November, Tucker was beginning to show some signs of just kind of doing and saying some odd things. And I watched this. I remember watching this and being like, man, Tucker just makes so many really important, really good observations like this. Like, this is part of the reason why I like hung on Tucker Carlson's every word for a couple of years there. Because he was one of the only people at his level of scale that was talking about these sorts of things. Like, you know, the civilizational importance of beauty and beautiful things and beholding beautiful things and the spiritual impact that it has on you.
I think work satisfaction is extremely fucking important, and not just for myself, but I think I told you, my team is like my family on your podcast. So we talked about that again.
I feel the same way.
This morning at breakfast, and I just want everybody to love where the fuck they work, and be proud of where they work.
Like, what are you doing with your life? No, I completely agree with you. It's expensive to do that, so that's why most people don't.
Yeah. But what else am I going to spend it on?
No, I completely agree.
Fucking gay new watch or something.
Some dumb vacation. I totally agree.
But, well, I mean, holy shit, dude.
Yeah. I know.
What the fuck is going on in the world?
Well, there's a spiritual war underway, which I didn't take seriously enough. And you can't understand anything that's happening unless you understand that.
I leaned out. Just like we were talking about this, I just had to lean out.
Living Dead says, I used to find this kind of banter endearing. Now it feels so insincere to me. It feels like he's saying the right things to get you to follow him along to somewhere else. Yeah. I experienced the same.
I can't tell what's real anymore. We talked about that on your podcast. It just keeps getting fucking worse. And I'm just looking for, I'm just looking for something that I can have an impact on. And it's getting hard to find.
Well, it's hard to gauge the impact of really anything because our timeline is totally distorted. And at least I'll speak for myself. I always think that if I say something that's true, it will have an immediate effect. And there is a kind of vanity to that. Like, can't anyone hear what I'm saying? Like, I already showed that's a lie. Like, why aren't you adjusting your behavior? And it's like, well, because I'm not God, actually. I'm not in charge of anything. I'm a podcaster, which is important to remember if you're me, because there is so much vanity. People are always like, oh, it's so important what you're doing. And it's like, really? If I was doing something useful, I guess we wouldn't be here, would we? And that is so frustrating that I opted, we had this long conversation, wonderful, which I wish was on tape because it was so deep, but I know.
Don't worry, everything on breakfast is recorded.
But no, I mean, I know the feeling so well. And you were saying, I can't even deal with this. I don't want to deal with it.
So this is Tucker had something that happened right after Charlie Kirk was assassinated and made a big decision. Little vague, but this is what's on his mind right now. You see where he's kind of taking the conversation. This is what he's thinking about, is this thing about like speaking the truth or saying what's true publicly.
And I said, oh man, in June, after the United States government bombed the nuclear facilities to really no effect, let's be honest, I was so frustrated and disappointed and mad that people aren't listening to me. I kind of retreated, and I live in a place where you can retreat to our fishing camp, which I sincerely love, but really its signature quality is its remoteness. It's not near anything at all. And we did have Starlink put in a couple of years ago. So you could text from there. So like, why wouldn't you go there on all your off hours with your dogs and just like live alone in the woods? So I literally did that. And then in September, Charlie Kirk was my friend, was murdered. And with the encouragement of another friend of mine, I began to realize that what I was doing was totally self-indulgent. And we're not here to enjoy solitude in the woods or enjoy our fishing camp, the fruits of our labors, which is a very cheap fishing camp, but still it's like so close to my heart and what I.
Thank you for the $33, Wit, via Venmo. He said, buy the boys around tomorrow. Thank you, sir. That $33 takes us to $88 total. What do they mean by this? Please do tip your streamer. We're gonna get to the point here in just a minute.
And what I really love about this country and my life is being in the woods. So, but that's not why we're here. That's totally self-indulgent. Just because my deepest desire is not hookers and blow. And I can anymore. No, but I can tell myself, and I have literally said out loud to people around me, like, really, my darkest sin is I like to sit far away in the woods up near Canada with my dogs and fish and maybe have an occasional cigarette or whatever, but that's as naughty as I get. I've got nothing to apologize for.
Why do you say that's a big sin? That's your biggest sin?
Well, I would be joking. I would say, look, okay, yes, I do like, we had a family drama over Starlink. I don't want Starlink. But it was like, well, then no one knows where you are. And I'm like, well, right. That's the fucking point. Right. Well, I did give in, which is a mixed blessing. But anyway, the point is, I would always say the worst thing I want to do is retreat from the world into the woods and fish or hunt. I mean, those are truly my deepest desires. And I just always would joke and be like, you could have someone else in your family who's like in Vegas getting chlamydia, or there's me who just wants to go fishing for the week, or whatever. But what I realized was, yes, of course, fishing alone with your dogs is better than getting chlamydia, at the Spearmint Rhino. But both of them are retreating from your duty, especially if you're a middle-aged man who has, whatever. There's no reason for me not to do my best. At this point, there's nothing in my path that prevents me from telling the truth. That I have an obligation to do that. That's why you're here. There's a mission. There is a mission for every man. And your job is to find out what it is and dutifully do it or attempt to do it. And do you see the fruits? Of course not. You don't. And maybe there aren't any fruits. And maybe you're wrong because you don't freaking know. You're just a man. You're totally on the wrong path sometimes and don't even know it. It's happened to me a million times. But you have to try. And it can't just be, as I always say to people close to me, it's not all blowjobs and French toast, man. Like there's a part where you have to work. No, that's the dream, right? Blowjobs and French toast,
Oh, man. I mean,
part of the reason, I'll tell you guys this, part of the reason why I'm still giving Tucker the time of day and trying to figure out what he's doing is because I've been told, and I can't remember if I said this, I know I said it on the Kingpilled on the voice chat in the Discord, but I can't remember if I said it on the show, but I was told by someone, I'll just say an absolutely impeccable source, that Tucker has been baptized in the Orthodox Church. He's kept it quiet, but it's happened, and it is someone I absolutely 100% trust and believe that if they're saying that's the case, then I would believe that that's the case. And it would kind of map, like he just did it was the whole thing with like him being attacked by a demon and everything. That was him talking to the Hears brothers. So he has multiple, I can guarantee, I know for a fact that he has multiple different direct connections to Orthodoxy. So him actually being baptized into the Orthodox Church would not be surprising to me at all in terms of, he's already got the connections there. It's very difficult to reconcile it with this other change in tune. But he also, coming here, he talks about this particular event that happened to him. And there's I'm kind of trying to map out the timeline here.
I don't know, Tucker. I have like this huge internal battle going on right now.
I get it.
It's again, we talked. We should probably stop having breakfast from now on and just do the actual interview here. But I'm not going to quit. But I go back and forth. I mean, there's so much. Yes, there's a lot of positives, and you talk to a lot of cool people, and I get got to know you, and I'm very thankful for everything. But I think about, I got a large property about 45 minutes south of here, and lots of acreage, middle of nowhere, very, very inexpensive property that I've owned since I moved here.
Those are the best. Inexpensive rural property.
It's a little bitty fucking hunt cabin that's like.
I like how every time that he cusses, the subtitles here just put in the brackets with the underscores.
You wouldn't want to bring a woman there unless my wife.
Those are the best kind.
But we used to go before all this shit happened. We used to go down there and just escape. Well, we wanted to escape all the way back then, and we don't have time to do that anymore. And like I went down there last weekend and to actually like just get out of here, even though I live in the woods. That's farther in the woods.
Yes,
and
I know the feeling.
I just fucking got down there, man. And I was like, it made me sad. Like I was like, Katie and I used to come down here all the time.
Yep.
Not talk chemistry and a couple. And like, I'm like, and I don't think you're going to
the word and consider time that has passed.
It makes me fucking sad.
You can always be sure you look backward and consider time that has passed simpler and better. That's just the nature of life. You will always look back. I look back on the 80s and I'm like, damn, I correspond with my girlfriend by letter. How great that.
This is true. This is true that there is a, at least in the current year, there is a, this has been the case for at least a decade now, that there's a tendency to excessively romanticize the past. Like it's good to, I'm not saying you shouldn't romanticize the past, but there is the tendency of, and this is, I think, kind of an eternal thing. I can't speak for every generation because I obviously haven't experienced every generation, but everyone has like that nostalgic thing. Oh man, things were so much better in my day, or you know, every generation has their anxiety about how much worse things are going to be in the next generation.
Great that was. I just think that's the way people are. But I think of it this way. It's like, and I think that's not just of myself, but of everyone around me. The more blessed you are, the deeper your obligation. That's just true. The point of leadership is to protect the people you lead. I don't believe in a flat society. I'm not a populist in any way. I believe that no structure, beginning with the family, works without leadership. And so I think a lot about what is leadership, and leadership is sacrifice. And so the more you've been given, the deeper your responsibility to sacrifice for others. I really believe that. And that's obvious when...
So the way he's framing this, or at least the way that it's on his mind, depending on whether you are sympathetic or not sympathetic to him, is leadership equals sacrifice, and we're suffering from lack of leadership. This is kind of like the premise here. And him saying, I've been blessed with so much, and when you are blessed with so much, you have a responsibility then to sacrifice what you have and not be self-indulgent and actually take up a role of leadership when it's presented to you, which on the surface, all of this is this is why I tuned in for Tucker Carlson for years, was precisely for this sort of stuff, because this is the sort of there are very few people who are talking this way about these sorts of things, which is what makes it so exasperating for Tucker to be the one who is one of the few people talking about these sorts of things and then completely tune out.
When you're working hard toward a goal, I'm putting everything into what I'm striving to achieve. I'm fighting my way up. The problem for men, and so few men actually achieve this that it's almost never talked about. The problem for men is getting what you want. The problem is winning. That's what destroys you. The fight doesn't, you've been in real fights, obviously. But real fights, I happen to know, not just with others, but with yourself. And you prevailed. That's way easier than winning. Winning is what destroys you. David was not intimidated when he picked up the stone against Goliath and then ran up and beheaded him. The problem set in when he sees this girl and he's like, I can bang her. I'm king. He destroys himself. That is the template for the way that men are. And no one tells you that because, again, there are so few people who actually get what they want.
So if you listen to the subtext here sounds like the thing he's thinking is Trump won and winning has changed him.
And there's no support group for people who won. But I know a lot of them. I know that you do too. And a consistent theme in every story is the second I got what I wanted, I could feel myself starting to self-destruct and lose confidence and faith in myself and my mission and all this.
Yeah, Homeless Nomad says winning destroys you explains a lot about what's going on with him, actually. Yeah, it definitely could.
And that's one of the gifts that we get, I think, as people, if we pay attention, is the humility that comes from failing. Like, every time I thought I've won and I'm like, get cynical and decadent and like, yeah, I'm in charge now. Then I get fired, humiliated again. And then I look back and I'm like, oh, thank you, God, for humiliating me, because it restores a sense of purpose and takes me down from hubris to reality, et cetera, et cetera. But underneath it all is the fact that the more you've been given, the greater your obligation to others. And as I said, as I told you in great detail at breakfast, I'm not going to bore your listeners, but I just went through this where I was like, fuck this. Like, go wreck your society. I'm out. I'm going to do my interviews and but I'm not getting involved in this process because it's hopelessly broken.
So here's the point. I wanted to make sure we had a little bit of that setup just because he kind of frames it up in that way. But then here's where he says he's just recently at a point where he was like, fuck this. If you want to destroy your society, whatever, like I want out. I don't want to be involved in all of this.
And I can only be frustrated by it. I can have no material effect, and I'm just out, and I've got a million interests. I have a huge family who I am very engaged with, and I'm just going to tend to their needs, and I'm not going to participate in anything beyond my world. And then a really close and honest friend of mine wrote me this very long letter the day Charlie was killed, and it was like, actually, and it was very nice. It wasn't scolding, but it was actually corrective in that he said, you are self-indulgent, which I am. I'm totally self-indulgent. I know that about myself, of course, and it's obvious. But you are being self-indulgent, and you have a moral obligation to do everything you can with the ever-present knowledge it mostly won't work, but it doesn't matter whether you live to see its fruits. You are obligated to try to help in some way. And I And I was like, of course I showed it to my wife. I was like, God is speaking through him. You need to pay attention. I was like, you're right. You're totally right. So that conversation, which was, well, it was September 11th, I happen to know, when I called him to thank him for this letter, that totally changed my attitude. And I'm just so grateful to have friends who are will take the time to be honest with me about my faults. And people I really trust. I'm not, take a lot of criticism. I don't give a shit. But like for the 30 people whose opinions I care about, some of them are really willing to take the time to be honest with me. And I needed to hear that. And I've been in a good mood ever since, despite, we've had a lot of drama in my life and my family since September 11th. It's only been a little over 2 months, but it's like a different world. And since Charlie was murdered, but I've never stopped being cheerful and hopeful because I know that there's a mission way beyond me. And I don't know its outlines. I don't know everything about the mission. I have no secret knowledge, but I can feel very strongly that my job is to tell.
I completely disagree on Tucker, my brother. I think he felt a sense of sick happiness when CK died. PPL have gifts, and yours is the high openness and the ability to take ideas and deeply think about and maneuver them in your mind. PT2, coming PLZ, read together.
Okay, so there's another one coming. All right, so I will wait to see. I'll wait to see the next one before I respond to what you said, because I have some thoughts on what you said.
Tell the truth to the extent that I can and that I'm able to see it, which is imperfectly. But I know it's outlined sometimes, and I have an obligation to say what they are, no matter what the cost to me. And that is such a liberating feeling.
It's hard to...
Okay, so this was the part that I was talking about. So he tells the story about how he has a friend who wrote a letter to him and basically told him, you need to quit fucking around and you need to go do a thing. And there was the other thing that I was trying to find that I couldn't. Dave combobulated!
Tucker is now a tremendous fag with whomst I am most disgusted by. Poor form, Mr. Catterilson.
Dave, you patriot! Mr. Catterilson! Beautiful, beautiful. That's his name now, Mr. Catterilson. Tucker's hearing Dale say Tucker is a tremendous fag. Oh yeah, everything in Dale's voice is funny. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad that Dale's voice was one of the ones I could choose from. As soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, that has to happen. That has to happen 100%. Thank you for the $100, sir. I'm going to get the $100 special $100 alert set up here as soon as I possibly can. Hopefully next week. But the Whomst Whomst was so good as well. Still waiting to see if Andrew Starr has a part 2 coming. I will just say from the first part, you said I completely disagree on Tucker. I don't think that there's anything about what I've said that you could actually disagree with, because I haven't drawn a conclusion about him yet. I really don't think that that he felt a sense of happiness when Charlie died. I haven't gone that far on him. But I'm like explicitly saying my mind is not made up on him yet. Thank you, Emperor Atreides. So like I guess I'll wait and see what the rest of your message was going to be. Hold on. But yeah, I'm still I haven't seen, like, I know there's plenty of people who are fully convinced that he is just entirely a disingenuous op, and he's one of the ones that I think that even if he was actually an op.
Homos.
Thank you, Emperor Atreides. Congratulations, well below average. Gifted sub once again. He's another one that I think he actually believes everything that he says. I think I would see him as a likelier candidate to be just hopelessly deluded than being like I don't know, like intentionally two-faced or deceptive. I don't think he actually would be able to do that very well. He kind of can't control himself well enough to do that. But the way he's characterized this is he had a friend. I'd love to know who that friend was who wrote him that letter, who said, you need to shit or get off the pot, essentially. Now, part of what makes this interesting to me is the report that I heard, again, from someone that I don't know for sure that it's 100% true, but, I trust the source I heard it from, that he's been baptized Orthodox. Now, I would say if he has been, it would have been better, in my opinion. He presumably would have a spiritual father then, and so, it's just, far be it from me to cast aspersions on his spiritual father. But my take would be that it would have been better if his catechumenate process involved him disappearing off the public stage for a while. But who knows? Was it whoever his spiritual father is who wrote him this letter and said, "You need to shit or get off the pot"? I don't know. There's a lot of assumptions that would be baked into that, but even so, leaving aside the determination of is Tucker, is this a some sort of long game that he. The other clip that I was trying to find was one where he told kind of a similar story, and he said after Charlie was shot, he and his family had to sit down.
Homos.
Thank you, Emperor Atreides. Another gifted sub, Agitprop Master. What's up, buddy? There was a clip, and I just couldn't find this in the time I had to look for it, but there was one where he said something about how he and his family, he had to sit down with his family and be like, "There's some decisions that I'm going to make, that I'm thinking about making. And if I do this, it's going to have some really serious impacts on our family. It's going to change our family dynamic for good. And I need to know that everybody is on board with it." It was something to that effect. And I couldn't find the actual conversation where he had that. I would have had to sit down and listen to a bunch of things. But it was right around the same time. And I remember hearing that at the time and being like, I wonder what Tucker's got up his sleeve. What's he doing now? And so now looking back on this, 7, 8, 9 months later, clearly there was a stark change in his tone and his behavior and everything. Everyone was like, well, hold on, what's happening with Tucker? Tucker's trooning out. Why is he trooning out? Well, he came out and said, a close personal friend of mine told me I needed to shit or get off the pot, that I needed to step up and embrace this role of leadership that is incumbent on me, that has something to do with, I was ready to just totally check out and be like, screw you guys and your stupid system, and I'm just going to go live in the woods, live out my life. And no, you have this burden, you have this obligation, this duty, a responsibility to step up to the plate and do this thing. Then there's a report that he's converted to Orthodoxy. He's also done this mass weird true out, where now it's like he's setting up this third party run for him or someone who he's going to support. And he knows well enough that a third party run could only serve as a spoiler. And if he runs as a anti-MAGA spoiler, he's actually going to be siphoning votes away from Democrats, not from Republicans. So Tucker's easily smart enough to understand those sort of electoral dynamics. That would be something he'd be pretty keenly aware of, given his background. So whether he's a this is like white hat kayfabe, or a Tucker true out being retarded, in either case, his effect is going to be pro-Trump. He's going to have a pro-Trump impact. So the only real debate to me is whether or not this is something that he's playing the fool, willing to sacrifice this, decide that he's gonna die on the hill of this particular agenda, but he's back channeling with the administration and he's gotten the stamp of approval and yada yada yada. Is he doing something along with Elon? Is Elon funding a thing? Both of these guys are easily ones that they're not unintelligent, vapid, shallow people who don't understand the system or aren't capable of making long-term plans. So I think anyone being like, 4D chess it's just a thought-terminating cliche. But anyways, I wanted to pull out this one story that he told about getting this letter from someone telling him, and his wife taking it to his wife, and his wife saying, "This is the voice of God speaking to you. You need to listen to this." Him telling that story this was, I think, an important origin point for the subsequent, what has seemed very much like a total complete true now. It was not an unintentional thing. So he either intentionally he intentionally trooned out, and the question is why. Tojin, thank you for the $25. Appreciate you. That gets us, I think we're close to halfway to the goal. Fortunately for you guys, I have more. The money's still coming in, so now a little palate cleanser with one of our great, glorious magagrammas. Shout out to the magagrammas in the chat. W's in the chat for the magagrammas. Magoo says, I can't see how you help Trump by calling him the Antichrist and lying about it. Well, I mean, if you're thinking in like galaxy brain, political terms, it's like I'm going to be a Pied Piper for the retards and draw the retards off into irrelevance, basically neuter them as a political force by kind of like leading them off a cliff of ineffectiveness. Yeah, I've got a Besant clip coming up here soon as well. Homeless Nomad says Besant specifically said he's working to bring the Hamiltonian system today. Yes.
In his inaugural press conference as Federal Reserve Chairman, Kevin Warsh said something shocking.
I don't believe that we have a cruel choice. I don't share the view that was expressed a few generations ago that Federal Reserve chairmen show up at a podium like this and say, you got to choose. You're going to have to decide whether you're willing to tolerate higher inflation to put more people at work. I don't believe in that. What I believe is if we do our job, we can make strong growth, low prices, and strong employment mutually compatible.
Did you catch that? The new chairman of the Federal Reserve does not believe in cruel choices. This is not the normal language of a central banker. When Warsh rejected the cruel choice, he was rejecting the Phillips curve. For 60 years, every economist agreed on this iron rule. To stop inflation, you have to throw Americans out of work or suppress their wages. Last week, Kevin Warsh said that rule is a lie, and almost everybody missed it because they were busy trying to read the tea leaves on interest rates. Well, they're wrong. I'm Susan Kokenda, and I've tracked the Federal Reserve and the British liberal financial system for decades. Here's what I'm going to cover today. How Warsh just killed the cruelty doctrine that said Americans must suffer.
Andrew Starr.
Mine is the ability to read people with an accuracy that only God can provide. I've never been wrong, and from the start, Tucker has given me the creeps. He was born and bred to be a DC elite in the old system. Since leaving Fox, he's inauthentically appealed to the everyman. PT3 coming.
Okay, part 3 coming. Yeah, I appreciate your I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying that I'm not convinced yet. I'm not even saying I'm not convinced. I'm saying that I'm equally convinced of both trajectories. And like the idea of Tucker as the Tucker kayfabe storyline would depend upon him being able to do that compellingly. So him giving off major creeps vibes would be kind of part and parcel of that. It's supposed to be like he's the DC elite insider who's gone off the reservation and now he's had his come to Jesus moment and whatever. So like him giving off creeps vibes is I don't think is dispositive to the thesis to me.
Suffer to fight inflation. Second, how the Trump administration is out.
But I'll see what you say in part 3.
Flanking the money masters by unleashing new credit institutions. And finally, the part nobody is connecting. The real engine of American wealth. The secret weapon the empire cannot compete with. So this rule has a name and it's called the Phillips curve. In plain English, it says job growth and economic expansion cause inflation. There is a fixed trade-off between inflation and employment, and you've got to trade one against the other. That's the cruel choice. But ask you.
One of the great things about the MAGA grandmas is their ability to explain these sort of denser things in very simple terms. Just boil it down in a sentence. All you need to know is just kind of the overview of it.
Ask yourself, when has real progress ever made things more expensive? Every time we've built something, a better machine, a faster process, the cost of everything affected by that falls. Now the Phillips curve insists on the opposite. So which one is lying? The rule?
Tikon says, I'm at work listening in and out. Did I hear that Tucker is an ortho bro? I wouldn't be surprised if Father Josiah was a spiritual father. Well, he does have that personal connection to Father Josiah as well. No, I was told that he has been baptized Orthodox. And I was told a specific name that he had taken as his patron. So it was a pretty specific thing that I was told. And I was told by someone who I 100% trust the source. So that absolutely colors my, and so for someone who's not Orthodox, that may not mean much to you personally, but I'll tell you, for me personally, I definitely have to take that into consideration as I'm trying to evaluate his reliability or his authenticity. That doesn't mean that I just assume then, okay, he's perfectly right and correct, and I need to believe every single thing he says. But it does mean that I need to view him in a different light, because he is necessarily, if he's taking those steps, he is necessarily being changed through his encounters with Christ, and being changed by his encounter with Christ, with his body, through his church. So again, it's not to say that every baptized Orthodox person is automatically right about everything, but it also makes it much more difficult to just simply believe that he's purely motivated by some sort of demonic, malevolent intent.
Rule or your own eyes. But they want you to think that that rule is a law.
I could feel his inauthenticity the whole time, but I convinced myself otherwise. Go back and watch him talk about going to Podesta parties. It's creepy he talked about those paintings with PPL, then acted like he was detached. He is a serpent, bro. PLS, read all together. Love you, bro.
Love you too, man. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. Like I was saying, you know, I'm not saying that read of him is unrealistic or unreasonable, or that I am rejecting it. But if he has been baptized into the Orthodox Church, and he is an active member of the Orthodox Church and a convert, especially a convert, like if he is going through a conversion process right now, like that would explain a lot of his sort of neurotic energy. This is a well-documented thing that especially American Protestant converts to a new thing get really, there's even a term for the Calvinists, the cage stage, where basically like you just need to be put in a cage. You're taking on, you're like drinking out of a fire hose, and you're freaking out, and you want to go bang on everyone's door and declare all of your observations from the mountaintops, and that's not necessarily, you know, it might. This is why when I was going through that process for myself, I actually almost stopped doing the show completely. I notoriously like disappeared from the King Pill Discord and just kind of left the scene of the internet for a little while. And which is why, like, you know, if it is true, I would say it probably would have been better. My personal opinion, delivered humbly as a sinful person, it would have been better that he just disappeared off the face of the earth for the last several months as he was going through this process. But that's between him and his spiritual father. So yeah, Tikon, it's hard to do orthodoxy not in earnest. And again, there's plenty of Orthodox people who I have deep political disagreements with, and I'd be interested to have those conversations with them. But I do think that there's a lot of Orthodox, a lot of the people who are Orthodox and also doing like political commentary tend to imbue far too much implicit libertarianism. They tend to just kind of like axiomatically accept libertarianism as prescriptive. And so like it would not be unique for me to have distinct political and geopolitical differences with an Orthodox person. So even if the story about Tucker being baptized in the church is true, sure, yeah, I would absolutely could still see him as being someone who's deluded, politically speaking. But if I hadn't heard that story, I would be much more inclined to just believe that he is motivated by malice. I don't think it's going to be very difficult to convince me that he's motivated by malice or evil intent or something like that. It's definitely easy for me to believe that he's motivated by political retardation. And so that's kind of, there's like three categories here. Is he motivated by political retardation? Is he motivated by malice? Or is this, a big elaborate kayfabe thing? And the motivated by malice thing is hard for me to believe, but the other two are neck and neck for me. Anyways, let's come back here to our mega grandma.
American wealth, the secret weapon the empire cannot compete with. So this rule has a name, and it's called the Phillips curve. In plain English, it says job growth and economic expansion cause inflation. There is a fixed trade-off between inflation and employment, and you've got to trade one against the other. That's the cruel choice. But ask yourself, when has real progress ever made things more expensive? Every time we've built something, a better machine, a faster process, the cost of everything affected by that falls. Now, the Phillips curve insists on the opposite. So which one is lying, the rule or your own eyes? But they want you to think that that rule is a law of economics, and that's the lie. Because all it is a description of the British liberal system, where you're just a cog in a fixed economic model, and where everything is driven by money and demand. And in that model, the people who have the money call the shots. Now, Warsh used his concluding remarks at that inaugural press conference.
I mean, the people who have the money kind of call the shots in just about any model. It's more about who the people are who have the money who are calling the shots. But, this is meant to be a digestible, common man sort of presentation.
Conference to hammer the final nail in the Phillips curve coffin.
If I heard one other thing around that subject over the course of the last couple of days, what I heard was that strong productivity-led growth is not something that we fear, but something we embrace.
He's echoing something President Trump has said many times. Real economic growth is good. And while that is something a normal person thinks is obvious, it's contrary to the economist dogma, and it's anathema to the rules of the post-war economic system. Those rules argue that the market forces will move the money around in ways that magically work. What they don't tell you is that it only works for them. Maintaining control of financial flows and monetary policy has concentrated power in the hands of the financier elite, and it's created the so-named affordability crisis for everybody else. Now, here's what doesn't fit into their economic equations. The real economy, the part that actually produces food, housing, machinery, the things that make society work. That's supposed to be subordinated to the money. Now, Warsh threw that idea under the bus as well when he dispensed with the practice of forward guidance. That's where the Federal Reserve Chair and members of the FOMC tell markets what to expect in terms of future monetary policy. Now, the Fox News business correspondent got very nervous about Warsh dropping his forward guidance.
Edward Lawrence with Fox Business. So if you don't give a lot of ongoing forward guidance, won't the markets have more volatility?
I think financial markets perform best when they react to incoming data. I think the financial markets work less efficiently when they ask a question, how will the Federal Reserve react to that incoming information? The more that markets are paying attention to what's happening in the real economy, deciding what's good data and what's less good data, the more financial markets can price what they believe is the most likely and what are the tail risks.
So
yeah, Warsh has been excellent so far. Yeah, this is a massive feather in the cap of the Kokindas and Luongos of the world. There's others as well, but those in particular are relevant to the Labians, who have been forecasting essentially a Fed that is being subordinated to the Treasury. Like the Fed is still going to have a role, but its role is being drawn back substantially. It's going to be stepping back from regulation, and it's also going to be, as he's saying here, stepping back from actively providing this forward guidance. Essentially, more the market is going to, they're part and parcel with this is they're not going to be providing forward guidance, but they're also going to be saying, this is what we're doing. This is what the path is going to be. These are going to be the constraints. This is going to be the operating windows and such, and you operate within that. So they're going to be more explicit about their role, but they're also going to be much more withdrawn in their role. Andrew Star says, don't you come under the most attack when you're a catechumen when you're about to be baptized? If he's been baptized, shouldn't he be past a lot of this? I understand he could come under attack anytime, but yeah, you definitely do come under a lot of attack when you are a catechumen. And so, I think that would be a relevant thing to consider in all of this as well. That's part of why I'm willing to say it publicly. Homeless Nomad said he's motivated by Protestant guilt being reinforced by money the city's throwing at him to mimic divine providence. Well, it's funny if you mentioned the money. Like, so if he is being paid for by some sort of foreign influence operation or something like that, then you can't simultaneously hold that opinion and also not connect it to JD Vance, because he obviously has personal connections to JD Vance, and he's got direct business connections to both JD Vance and to Don Jr. So that's what I'm saying. Like, if your thesis is that Tucker is some sort of foreign agent, then who's here to, you know, he's trying to like mess things up or break things or whatever, then this is going to have pretty profound implications for both Don Jr. and JD Vance. And this is going to explode out into much more of a scandal. This isn't just Trump. This isn't just Tucker beclowning himself and drifting off into irrelevancy. This is going to actually break out into a pretty substantial political conflict within the United States.
The Federal Reserve Chairman just told the markets to listen to the real economy, not to a prophecy delivered by a monetary oracle of Delphi. If you're beginning to get the idea that an entire economic model is under attack, then you need to subscribe to Promethean Action's free newsletter. Not only will we track this deconstruction, but we'll show you what's being constructed in its place. The link is in the description. But tearing down the lie is the easy half. The question that should be keeping the City of London up at night is what the Americans are putting in its place. And this week, while every camera was pointed at the Mideast, they answered it. On Monday, the National Security Council, the body that advises the president on war and foreign policy, sat down with the heads of the Export-Import Bank, the Commerce Department, and the Small Business Administration. And the subject wasn't Iran. It was reindustrialization. Coming out.
So Kevin Warsh says, we're not going to be providing this forward guidance anymore. We want essentially, we're not going to be regulating and manipulating the market as much. The Fed is withdrawing its position and its influence. It's focusing its influence, and simultaneously, there's all these other different credit agencies being not. I guess credit agency isn't the right term. These institutions providing credit from within the federal government being invested into infrastructure and technological development and being invested productively, Hamiltonianly. You can see how these things go hand in hand together.
Coming out of that meeting, the Ex-Im Bank announced that loan guarantees of up to 90% on equipment loans and operating leases for small businesses for machine tools and manufacturing machines will be provided. The purpose? They said, now Ex-Im's expanded Make More in America initiative will reestablish the domestic supply and secure U.S. leadership across all industrial manufacturing subsectors, from castings and forgings to high.
Do you think that Tucker might now be convinced that BB or AIPAC has something to do with Charlie's death? Could they explain his behavior?
Yeah, I think for sure. I think he definitely, like, obviously Israel is central to his whole agenda here. And I mean, I don't personally really see BB or AIPAC necessarily having a role to play in his death, but I also how do I say this? I think there's a way that you can do both. And thus far, I don't think it's being done well, if I'm honest. But I think there is a way that you can, I think that there can be political utility in placing Israel and Israeli interests under fire for bearing responsibility for the culture that contributed to Charlie's death. I think that there is political utility that could be gained from that. But doing it at the expense of the actual culprit, like trying to, I think if you were to do that, the proper way to do that would be to associate Zionism with the Democrat Party. Even if Zionism does have representation within the Republicans, and obviously it does, especially the most some of the most deeply entrenched Zionist interests. But if you're talking just purely like political strategy, then associating Israel and Democrats and the Democrat establishment together can help actually solve the problem on the Republican side as well. Because then you can characterize those Republican interests that are beholden to that as these are closet Democrats. And this is a way that you can actually kill two birds with one stone. So I think if he actually does believe that, like, you know, like if we were to accept the premise of this is some sort of kayfabe operation, Trump and Tucker are doing a public kayfabe thing, but this is about insurance for JD Vance. It's about clearing the field for JD Vance. This is insurance against a future neocon strike against trying to take back control of the Republican Party, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And also, this is about putting public political, like Tucker is the sacrificial lamb who's going to throw himself on this altar to amplify this Israel thing to the point where nobody can help but take it on. I mean, the Nick Fuentes interview with Tucker Carlson happened after Charlie Kirk was assassinated. And that's what really kicked off this whole Israel thing. And clearly the administration is not happy with the current leadership in Israel. So, like, there's enough data points there that I can kind of plausibly draw some connections to still sort of perpetuate the kayfabe idea. And like, what if you were to accept the kayfabe idea, then it opens up all sorts of other speculative rabbit trails that you could go down. I'm not really committed to the kayfabe idea, so I kind of don't want to. It seems like a waste of breath to just kind of go down all those rabbit holes. But yeah, the Islamic defense is what really throws me off. It's hard to be Orthodox and defend Islam. Yeah, and here's where there's kind of a third option, which is that, you know, this is becoming more comfortable with the East in general, and part of kind of like the cage stage thing. You've just gotten your new you're starting to take on this new worldview, and you're more comfortable with more sort of foreign things. Then obviously the money that's coming into him. But here's the other element, the other layer with money coming from like the Gulf states into Tucker is that the Gulf states and the administration are also in you know, pretty deeply engaged as well. So it's not like the Gulf states are not getting representation within American politics, so they have to try to finagle something through Tucker Carlson. So that's another thing where it's like, I understand why people conclude, oh, he's being paid off by Gulf states to promote Islam in America or something like that. Like, I understand why you would come to that conclusion, but I also don't see why that wouldn't be necessary. Is it the Gulf states or British remnant interests in Qatar at all? That's a good point. Yeah, it could definitely be British remnant interests. And so again, it comes back to, okay, so if you accept the premise that he is operating as some sort of foreign agent, whether he's deluded or malevolent, if he's operating as some sort of foreign agent like this, then again, his personal business connections with Don Jr. and with Vance become like, this story's not going away. This isn't something you could just like ignore and be like, oh, Tucker's just a lunatic, or Tucker's just subversive or whatever. Like, this is going to end up having direct personal implications on the Trump family and the potential Vance campaign.
Provided. The purpose? They said, now XM's expanded Make More in America initiative will reestablish the domestic supply and secure U.S. leadership across all industrial manufacturing subsectors, from castings and forgings to high-end automation. And the XM Bank is not standing alone in this. Back in February, the XM Bank chairman, John Jovanovich, told a CFR audience that there is an entire connective tissue in the Trump administration committed to this. XM is working with the Development Finance Corporation, the War Department's Office of Strategic Capital, and the National Energy Dominance.
The War Department's Office of Strategic Capital, this is an important thing to keep an eye on, is actions that are being made by the War Department's Office of Strategic Capital, because this is one key way. So you're seeing a retraction from in broad terms, from the Fed being the one that is injecting credit into the market, to the Treasury is injecting credit into the market, and or just the executive branch period through these other different avenues. And that this is credit that's being directed into productive capacity.
Dominance Council. So across this connective tissue, we have government institutions pumping hundreds of billions of dollars into the real economy. And why do we have government institutions doing it? Well, this gets back to the difference between money running your economy and physical reality running your economy. The Ex-Im Bank head Jovanovic made clear what happens when you just let money run it. He pointed out the reason why companies don't make critical investments.
And it's not because they're not patriotic. It's not because they're not smart people. It's not because they're bad people. It's simply because their stakeholders, whether it's their shareholders, whether it's whoever, they don't reward this sort of behavior because it's balance sheet inefficient.
Balance sheet inefficient. In other words, you're not satisfying the demands of short-term monetary profits. And that's the model that has gutted our economic security and your standard of living. Then Jovanovic brought it home.
I think we've lived in a world for 20 plus years, right now, give or take, that we've presumed we live in a cloud-based world, right? And this, I believe, is truly a revenge of like the real brick and mortar world.
Are you picking up a thread here?
Sorry, I stopped. I clicked away from the YouTube window and I stopped paying attention to the YouTube chat. Sorry, Akathist. Yeah, I'm streaming on Kick as well. That's like that's the primary chat. When did you convert? I was baptized in 2023. Pascha of 2023.
The revenge of the real brick and mortar world. Another way of saying, listen to the real economy. So when you start putting this all together, you're going to see an economic revolution emerging. You're seeing the return of physical economics and the national credit policies that ensure real growth and innovation. And we're talking about the American system, the economic policy that the City of London has spent the last 125 years wiping out of America's memory. So let's go back to that Phillips curve, the argument that growth causes inflation. Well, as Warsh said, monetary growth can cause inflation, and that's all the British system knows. But in the American system, productivity-led physical growth, the kind being financed by Ex-Im and by the DOE, that is deflationary. And both Warsh and Jovanovic expressed it in different ways. But behind both of their policies lies something even more fundamental. And even more than the name of the American system, it's what the empire wants to suppress more than anything. So Warsh talked about embracing productivity-led growth. What does that look like? Well, this week, President Trump signed 2 executive orders on quantum.
Imagine, yeah, man, the way this economy is going to start taking off with this realignment of credit. Having credit that actually goes toward, like, the argument for credit would be that you're borrowing from the future, because if you get what's in the future today, you can create a delta between what you would have had in the future and what you actually have in the future. So if you borrow $10 from the future, the reason you're borrowing $10 from the future is because you're going to be able to produce $15 worth of value in the future. And so if you're going to pay $2 to borrow $10 from the future because you're going to produce $15 worth of value, then this becomes a win-win-win environment. So you do get an expansion of the monetary supply under the current regime, but you're getting an expansion in productive capacity that goes along proportional to it. And then you have the people that serve this intermediate role, this very tricky intermediate role, where they assign the price of future money and they extract the delta in return for foregoing having today in return for having tomorrow. When all these different variables line up together, it can be incredibly powerful. You're monetizing time. You're turning time into productive capacity. This is the definition of creation. You're borrowing. You're taking something that would have existed in the future and you're actually making it exist today. It's like a form of time travel. This is an incredibly powerful technology, which is why it's so rife with abuse and capture. But when credit is properly directed at not the financialization or creating financial bubbles, but toward generating productive capacity where it makes sense to go in the hole today because you're going to acquire so much going in the hole today that you're going to outstrip where you would have been in the future otherwise. This is part of a key principle of this American system. The credit ought to be issued by the federal government itself. The federal government are the ones who are issuing this credit. They're the ones who have the responsibility to rubber stamp, to issue that credit, because that credit is going to be targeted at something that is going to expand productive capacity, which is going to make things cheaper, provide more jobs, more employment, which then begins a compounding effect. When that credit is being directed toward infrastructure, toward capital equipment, toward expanded capacity, that's when it becomes a superpower. When it's just directed toward creating asset bubbles, and you're essentially just borrowing capacity from one area and reallocating it to another area where it's less efficiently deployed, but it creates opportunities for arbitrage, you've now created a closed system that's going to inevitably stagnate and collapse in on itself. But we've even got the fucking EXIM Bank, the Export-Import Bank, is now engaged productively in the promotion of the American system. Thank you, Emperor Atreides.
Press, more than anything. So Warsh talked about embracing productivity-led growth. What does that look like? Well, this week, President Trump signed 2 executive orders on quantum computing. And during the Oval Office press conference, Energy Secretary Chris Wright pointed to the secret by talking about 2 people, one very close to the president.
21 years ago, Albert Einstein published a paper.
Nobody cares.
Good point. Good point.
Look at my president mullet maxing.
Nobody cares.
It truly is White Boy Summer. The golden mullet.
Good point. Good point.
And usually they won't catch you.
Published a paper on the photoelectric effect, recognizing the quantum behavior of light, that it came in quanta. 40 years after that, President Trump's uncle, John Trump, was a pioneer in applying light radiation and the reflections of it to develop radar at the MIT Radiation Lab, critical in D-Day, critical in the end in winning World War II.
Now, every news outlet ran the president's joke about Einstein's paper, but nobody reported the actual argument. One man, Einstein, has one creative idea about the nature of light, and it changes everything. 40 years later, another mind, John Trump, turns that idea into radar, and radar helps us win a world war. That's the engine. Not the money supply, not forward guidance. A human mind discovers something true, and the cost of doing everything downstream collapses.
You might say investing in atoms versus investing in bits.
That's how you have wage and economic growth without inflation. Because the human mind, by discovering a valid new principle, as Einstein and John Trump did, increases man's power over nature. And that's what...
One of the interesting things about Bitcoin is the way that it creates an... what's the word? Incorruptible, I suppose. I don't know, incorruptible might be overstating it a little bit, but especially if we live in a quantum reality, but creating a very tight connection between atoms and bits. That's part of the brilliance of Bitcoin, is the way that it ties atomic energy to digital energy. There's a long list of Michael Saylor conversations you could listen to for more on that.
That's what Alexander Hamilton meant when he said the wealth of a nation is the productive powers of labor. The administration knows that, and it was reflected in a comment by the president himself in the Oval Office, comparing a few of his own cabinet members to a rather unfortunate Democrat.
What a difference. What a difference. What a difference a brain makes.
That's the missing piece.
One unfortunate Democrat.
Human creativity is the secret to economics. That's what makes the pie grow and prices fall at the same time. That unique quality of human beings. So now you can see how the pieces fit together. Warsh gets rid of the Phillips curve choke chain, directed credit begins to build the machines, and the human mind is the thing the whole structure exists to set free. The British system can't price creativity, and it's been about 200 years telling you it doesn't exist. Because the moment a nation believes its own mind is the source of its wealth, the chains come off for good. So here's where we stand. Warsh rejected the cruel choice and fired the oracle. And while the cameras are focused on Iran, federal institutions quietly put Hamilton's tools back in American hands. That's not a policy tweak. That's a declaration of independence from the empire's economics. Promethean Action isn't just exposing this fight, we're building the movement that wins it by understanding and backing the president's economic revolution. So if that's your kind of fight, join us at Promethean Action as a member or a contributor. This has been your Wednesday update. Thanks for watching.
Please take a moment.
Thank you, MAGA Grandma. Now, let me grab this clip here, and I've got a couple of Besant clips. The first one is the one that was mentioned. Forgive me, I can't remember who exactly mentioned it before, but this is Scott Besant talking about. Hold on, get rid of that. And Scott Besant directly by name referencing Alexander Hamilton. Anybody who wants to counter-signal my MAGA grandmas can fucking suck it. Scott Besant says, we have rediscovered at great cost what America's first U.S. Treasury Secretary, Alexander Hamilton, taught us. The nation that depends on its adversaries for critical inputs is neither truly sovereign nor truly prosperous. As we approach 250 years of American independence, we would do well to remember that our founders left us more than a republic. They bequeathed a roadmap powerful enough to sustain it for 2.5 centuries and beyond.
Economic security begins with national capacity. We have rediscovered at great cost what Alexander Hamilton taught us around the time of our founding, that every nation ought to endeavor to possess within itself all the essentials of national supply. That our strength, in other words, is derived from what we can build, for the nation that cannot produce what it needs is not truly secure. The nation that depends on its adversaries for critical inputs is not truly sovereign, and the nation that reduces its economics to consumption is not truly prosperous.
Then there's this one here talking about dollar dominance. You might have wondered what the U.S., what the Trump administration's perspective on the dollar is. Here you go.
Dollar dominance is essential, and everything President Trump is doing here is, if you look, the new Venezuela is invoicing in dollars. They're coming back onto the dollar system. They've been sanctioned. They were not allowed to translate or to transact in dollars, and now the dollar is going to be the centerpiece of their trade. They were selling discounted oil to China and not getting dollars. We're seeing in the Iranian negotiations, the Iranians will be invoicing in dollars. So everything we are.
That's an interesting point. I mean, or like an interesting statement to make. I don't know that I'd heard anybody state it out that explicitly before, but part of the negotiations with Iran is that Iran will be transacting in dollars.
What they're doing is pushing the dollar back. It's never left as the centerpiece for the global currency system, but we're reinforcing it. I would anticipate when the Russia-Ukraine conflict ends, that Russia will want to come back in the dollar
when it ends
system, because again, the dollar, it's our liquidity, it's our capital markets, it's the depth and breadth. Everyone wants to be here, and I think many times the
Treasury Secretary going on CNBC talking about the depth and breadth of the U.S. capital markets, of the dollar system. You have like the dollar itself, and then you have the system that's built around the dollar, which includes U.S. infrastructure, the U.S. legal structure, U.S. business structure, the might of the U.S. Treasury. the U.S. security umbrella. These are all components of the dollar.
The great thing about the United States is we course correct when we go too far one way or the other. And I think we should not be shy about flexing where we have advantages, and where we have advantages, share with our allies and push back on those who are not aligned with us.
Luongo says, and those dollars will flow through networks the U.S. monitors. No longer will the shadow banking system, read London offshore banks, dominate dollar flows outside of our purview. Privacy is your responsibility and should be encouraged, but you have to realize that it is a two-way street for the real crimes of and against humanity. This is a point that I've made for a long time, that if you want privacy for yourself, then you must grant that those who are in power are always going to have more privacy than you. Privacy is a luxury brought to you by the possession of power. So if you want privacy, then you need to be comfortable accepting that those who have more power than you are going to have more privacy than you. If you want absolute transparency for dark money networks, then you need to be willing to embrace absolute transparency for your own financial transactions. Everything that Trump has done over the last 18 months has been about expanding and re-entrenching while reimagining the dollar system. The dollar system's not going anywhere. Nations are clamoring to join the dollar system. And as Homeless Nomad said here, in response to Tikon said, what do Susan and Tom say on housing? Are we still holding? Homeless Nomad said, wait for Europe to go into a real sovereign debt breakdown, which is already beginning. We'll send the U.S. 10-year yield down as capital piles in, which sends mortgage rates down. So as Europe starts to go into a real sovereign debt breakdown, there's going to be a lot of money, a lot of deployable capital that's no longer comfortable deploying capital in Europe at current asking prices in Europe. It's going to go to where it's treated best. The worse that Europe treats it, the more it's going to go other places. And right now, what Trump has been doing, what the Trump administration has been doing, is turning America even more into a gigantic money magnet, which is going to pull all of that in here. You can't evaluate each of these markets in a vacuum. This is what especially a lot of the Bitcoin or the gold bugs, this is what they often do. All the dollar bears, they evaluate the dollar in a vacuum. But you have to evaluate it vis-a-vis all the other alternatives, the alternative options for deploying capital. And there's nowhere better to deploy capital than in the United States. And so the more attractive the United States becomes as a place to deploy capital, the less attractive other places become. And Europe right now cannot afford to become less attractive for the deployment of capital. But some of these trains have left the station already, you might say. So he says it'll send the U.S. 10-year yield down as capital piles in, which sends mortgage rates down. Fannie and Freddie going public again will then help prices since they won't be shackled to Obama's slush funds and can ensure lower price mortgages. The better that and you can think about this too, that the more attractive and successful and prosperous that the United States becomes, this isn't happening in a vacuum. It's amplifying even more so how much less that way Canada and Australia and the UK and Europe are becoming. And these cycles become self-reinforcing. Now, there's a difference between the strength of the dollar system and the strength of the dollar index. There's actually you'd actually don't want the dollar to become too valuable relative to other currencies. The dollar itself, talking about the actual currency, you don't want it becoming too valuable relative to others because then it has a depressive effect on U.S. exports. So U.S. producers who want to export, as dollars become more and more expensive, it becomes more difficult for U.S. producers. So there are pieces that are coming together whereby, so long as these different regions in the world can overcome their particular political ideological possessions and the factions within each nation that are hell-bent on trying to preserve aspects of the old world and resisting transition to the new world, there is demand increasing for a grand deal. But all of this just means on the economic front, you've got oil prices dropping precipitously. Trump is now threatening he's saying the companies that are the big oil and gas companies are not dropping gas prices fast enough relative to the price of oil, which is the actual, there's an actual price gouging thing there, where based on rumors of oil prices increasing, they start raising gas prices. So they capture that extra delta at the beginning. And then they're slow to drop again as oil prices drop. But very predictably, as the Iran deal is coming together, oil prices are plummeting, which means gas prices need to plummet accordingly. And Trump is now directing the federal government toward investigating these companies, putting political pressure on them, legal pressure on them, getting the DOJ breathing down their neck if they're not dropping gas prices correspondingly. What do you think things are going to look like if gas prices are in the low to mid twos by the time the midterms roll around? The golden age has begun. There are many, many positive things to contemplate, to ponder, to appreciate. And that is what the Astrolabe is here for. No show tomorrow. I will be in Fort Worth. So if you are waiting around for an Astrolabe on Thursday, you will not get one. You got one on Wednesday instead. So if you're going to be in the Dallas-Fort Worth area tomorrow, or you would like to be, hit me up at KingPilled on X, or shoot me an email, realkingpilled@gmail.com. And let me know. I will let you know where we will be. We can connect. We can hang out. I'll be there I'm shooting to get up there about 4 p.m. and probably be headed back around midnight or so. So if you want to come hang out, we'll be in the downtown Fort Worth area. Contact me. I'll let you know where we're at. It'd be good to see those of you who are going to show up. Make sure you guys go join the KingPilled Discord, kingpilled.com. We'll be having a voice chat on Friday evening, and I will do a lab Friday afternoon, maybe kind of a short one, but between the France-Norway game that starts at 2 o'clock my time, and then the voice chat at 8 p.m. my time, I'll try to hop on here and do a little lab. Got a few things we could talk about. So appreciate all of you. Thank you for your contributions to the Erickson cause. Remember, you can always go to tips.kingpilled.com any time of the day or night. You can support this show, support my family. It's kind of funny, my family's ability to, pay our bills, buy food, pay for the truck, pay for the house, travel anywhere, do anything, buy little costumes and stuff for Eastwood, all these sorts of things. They all depend entirely on you guys. It's funny. There isn't like an alternate stream of income out there. I do the streams. You guys show your appreciation, whether through tips or through channel memberships or joining the Discord. And that's what pays all the bills for my family. That's what enables us to do anything that we're able to do. So you guys, it's extraordinary to me how generous all of you guys are, and I feel bad trying to flog more money out of you because you're already so generous. It's like you can increase the dollar per viewer, dollar per subscriber of the existing audience, or you can try to expand the audience and maintain it. And I'd like to expand the audience, but I also need to expand the income because as it is now, we're basically treading water. So I need to grow the audience. So what you guys can do, whether or not you do contribute financially, what you can do is you can share the show. You can go like the stream. You can subscribe. You can retweet. You can do whatever you can to manipulate the algorithm to tell people that the Astrolabe is a place they need to come check out. Mr. Kingfield says the homeschool needs a printer and first grade curriculum. So there you go. When you guys give me money, what's happening is you give me money and I give it to my wife, and she goes and she buys a new printer for the homeschool. And she buys first grade curriculum. And she listens, she watches, and she knows the days where I do well, where I inspire you guys to support more, and she knows the days where I do worse, and she locks me in a cage and she beats me with bamboo sticks for failing the family. So please prevent me from being bludgeoned with bamboo. Please support the show. Tips.kingpill.com, kingpill.com to join the Discord. Cash App, Venmo, @kingpilled. Yeah, bamboo under the fingernails tonight. I didn't hit the goal, so I get the bamboo under the fingernails tonight. You guys will see me tomorrow in Fort Worth with
Welcome to the sun,
with bandages. Thank you, Dave. 5 gifted subs. Dave combobulated. Mr. Kingpilled. Woohoo! My alt got a gifted sub. Ian Rhodes, Patriot, and also the Kickbot. Damn it. The bot stole a gifted sub. Thank you, Dave.
You know, Dave Johnson is the gayest person to ever walk this green earth.
Here is the biggest, gayest man in the world.
Oops. I ended it too soon. Oh, well.
Amazing.
I guess I should do one of these for good measure as well. All right, I'm out of here, guys. Thank you so much. I'll get this uploaded to Substack, so it'll be pushed out on all the podcatchers. That's another thing you can do. You can leave a 5-star rating and review. Let the people know how fantastic the Astrolabe is, how much better it makes you feel. And go download the EWBSX app. Go enjoy some white pills. And I will catch you guys back here on Friday afternoon. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, everyone else. I will see you guys on the next Labe. For now, I leave you with Hulk.
When they took a shot at my hero, and they tried to kill the next president of the United States,